Welcome into this edition of Pressbox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of Pressbox and PressBoxOnline.com. And with me is Eric Garfield, and we're about to talk about Orioles minor league prospects as we do each and every Thursday, brought to you by our friends at the Costas Inn, our friends at the new Atman's Deli at Harbor Point, where they've got a bar. That's right, you can watch Oriole games at the bar at the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point, and it's got all your favorites, deli favorites, and also by our friends at AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning, ajmichaels.com. Eric, we kick it off today. Orioles in pretty good shape, either tied or within percentage points of the New York Yankees. But there's one overriding story, and that involves Mr. Jackson Holliday. And I thought we'd take that at the outset. You and I debated, and I'm not saying you were wrong or I was right or whatever. We debated whether he should be up at the beginning of the year or not. And we both went back and forth on that, whether the club really wanted him to make the team. He clearly had a chance to make the team out of spring training if he had done phenomenally well, because he did well, but he didn't make the team. Some 13 days later, the club was scuffling a little bit at the major league level. He gets the call. He has done very little but struggle since, unlike any period in, I'm sure, his college, high school, or professional career, to the tune of, what is he, like 1 for 25 or something like that, with 13 or 14, 16 strikeouts, I think. Does the club have a problem now with what to do with a great prospect who isn't performing, or should they just sort of stay calm? The club's winning, may even be playing better than they were before he got here, and know that this will take care of itself.
My opinion is more of the second than the first. He is not adversely affecting their winning percentage. I don't think he's adversely affecting his own development, but for the fact that he's been up for several series and he has only 2 hits, it's a reflection of a lack of success to this point. And now we, as observers, are finding out something else about Jackson Holliday, how he handles adversity. How does he struggle and then find success? So far, we've only seen the struggle. Now, the fact that the Orioles are playing well, winning series in first or tied for first in a competitive division, means that there's not a lot of pressure on his lack of success so far. If those things start to change and we really start to feel the negative effect of playing 8 hitters versus 9, then there might be an opportunity to send it back down. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he'll catch up. He'll hit the ground running. He'll do fine, and we'll have to stop worrying about that. But for the time being, he is not making contact consistently enough with what his track record has been. I'm not scared. I don't think you're scared or worried at all either.
No, I'm not really scared. And I think the thing to do, in fact, I would argue that it bothered me yesterday. Again, if I have a Randy Johnson that he's about to face right now, hitting the way he is, I might sit him against that left-hander. Tyler Anderson yesterday, watching a soft tosser, a cutie pie.
Yep.
I don't understand why they sat him yesterday. And I know Brandon's about getting playing time for people, but I thought he had his best professional game on Tuesday night, where he got a single and he walked and he hit another hard line drive.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he sits. I thought yesterday was more an opportunity to get him more acclimated to big league life. Your thoughts?
The O's are kind of specific when it comes to matchups, especially with him against lefties. That might be a sign of how they're going to handle call-ups going forward. it gives me a little bit of a concern. Tyler Anderson is nowhere near that Randy Johnson tier that you named. So I thought he was going to play. And I would also think, not that I like to make predictions like this, if he played, he would have made hard contact more than once, probably resulting in a hit. So all those factors together tells me it was a scheduled rest day, and he was resting almost no matter what. The Orioles are pretty specific about that. The only way he's going to get better at hitting the ilk of Tyler Anderson is to face him live in a competitive situation. So that
Yeah, I
kind
think
of
they just,
rubbed me the wrong way as well.
I think he's put the club in a position where I think they may be overthinking some things a little bit. And I just would have played him yesterday over
With
Jorge Mateo. And I'm a Mateo fan.
and he did
Um,
well.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, um, we can beat this to death. Hopefully, by the time we talk next week, we will have moved
A few
on
more hits.
from concerns about him to more like moderate feelings about the Jackson
Right.
Holliday situation. I thought the minor league season now is a couple weeks old. I thought we'd look both at some players that you've spotlighted, but also look at how each of the farm clubs is doing, starting with Delmarva to Aberdeen to Bowie to Norfolk. I'm imagining Norfolk is doing just fine. Thank you.
They've come back to earth a little bit, winning percentage wise and runs per game, but their star players, overall, the prospects, the name guys, they're really starting to stand out. Cade Povich, I think we've talked about him every single opportunity we communicated on the air. He pitched today, first 5 outs for strikeouts. He's up to 40 Ks in less than 27 innings. He's as getting two breaking balls over starting and ending counts with them. He's as close and ready as he's going to be. So it's just a matter of when do they want to begin that onboarding process. And Coby Mayo today, I think when I looked, he was 0 for 3. His 0 for 3 brought his OPS down to the 940s. So smacking the ball, stealing bases. The only problem with Coby has been organizing his feet and throwing from third to first. He has a handful of errors so far, but
Okay.
power numbers and run production, driving the ball, he's outstanding. I want to say 7 taters, 20 RBIs on the early season.
So I don't mean to throw you a curveball. Can you give me updates? I'm reading all of a sudden that John Means pitched like 4 1/3 innings because the start before last, he didn't get out of the first inning and gave up about 7 hits, 6 runs. There's talk that he might actually come back up this weekend and start a game for the Orioles. Is that possible?
Okay. Yes, I will look, and yes, that is possible. I believe they've already announced that it's going to be Suarez and not Means, but I think that would have more to do with his his rehab window closing, and
Right.
he would have to be used. I would say he is not. I'm looking back on the schedule right now. He has not proven his readiness
Readiness for the major leagues.
at all. I think I found the game. So yeah, he's not getting guys out. He's doing very poorly against lefties. So Means doesn't look healthy. If they're worried about him just getting his feet under him and being
So
healthy enough to
couldn't they,
complete 4 innings.
Eric, I understand the clock situation where his rehab probably was at 30 days and they had to make a determination. But couldn't they get around this somewhat by DLing him at the AAA level?
Yeah, and I think what they might have to do is activate him to the MLB roster and then make a separate transaction after that, just because he's restated to the 40 man doesn't mean he has to be used or utilized in a game. They might
So
just have to.
this might be an MLB Players Association thing that calls upon them to do something in a set process.
It might be. So the long and the short of it is counting on Means to provide anything stable right now is not a 50-50 proposition. It's lower than that. I say
It's like an
significantly lower.
80-20 the other way.
The bad way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh I think what it's shaping up right now, if he can make any contribution down the stretch to a playoff contending type of team, then maybe they'll be able to squeeze something out of him. But if he did pitch on Sunday because his window was closing over a warm and maybe improving Suarez, it would seem a little bit forced.
Yeah, definitely, no question about it. So let's ask you about, do you know much about Bradish's plans right now? I know he's made 2 starts.
I think the more important thing with Bradish is he's a separate case and a separate injury. So performance, what he does on the mound, getting people out, he's he's on track. He's doing what he has been. Probably a little bit lower with the K, more fly ball type outs for right now. But he truly is working his way back to regular usage. I think the important factor with Bradish and his type of injury is the 2 days after he pitches.
Yeah, how
Is
he feels.
everything normal? Is everything pain free? And the fact that they've moved him up to the highest level of the minors is a sign that that recovery, at least so far, is going more than adequate. It's going very, very well. So I have to say I'm surprised that it's even at this point. But every opportunity he has to throw, pitch well, and recover is a sign that he's getting closer to being able to be used and trusted. So I guess Means going down a little bit and Bradish quickly and surprisingly going up.
All right. Let's
Very positive.
let's just ask you real quick. Let's do a run through of the teams, how they're doing. How's Delmarva doing?
Ooh, Delmarva is off to a bad start. They haven't won a series yet, and I believe they've only won 2 of their 16 games. So they're 2-14. What I'm watching from them is a lot of the FCL players from years past trying to assimilate to affiliated ball, and they're halfway there. They're not completing plays in the field, and at bat is kind of good, and then one bad swing ruins it. So they're really, I don't want to say struggling to find their form, but they're not there yet. 2-14 is it's hard to run away from what that shows about you. And one
Okay.
game was a comeback win. So they really have one game where
That they've
they've
really
controlled the
out
outcome.
won. Yeah. What
Right.
how are the Aberdeen Ironbirds doing so far?
Okay, they've got eight wins, 8 out of 17. They're playing much better, and I guess their competition, their league is tough this year. So 8 out of 17 is good for them. They're a nucleus that hasn't played together often, but there's a lot more like, I don't want to say stars, but players emerging in ways that are not just statistical in that lineup. So a little bit of a surprise from Aberdeen being so good, even though 8 and 9 might not sound that good.
And is that where the 2 Latin players you talked about,
Yep,
that I one of them that I really liked, what are their
yep.
names again? They're both there.
Both righties, Edgar Portes, Dominican, and Moises Chase, the Venezuelan. They're doing outstanding. Only Portes has pitched since we talked last. It was today is Thursday. It was Tuesday in relief. He had 4 innings, 5 strikeouts. He already has, I believe, 2 decisions. So Portes and Chase are doing fine. They also have another righty, Cameron Weston from Michigan, amateur draft pick, who's starting to, like I said, separate himself. He gave up an earned run in his first inning of the year, and in his 3 subsequent starts, has given up none. So he's on a 14 inning, 0 earned runs streak. And during that time, he has 19 Ks.
Okay, so that sounds really promising, all three of those guys. But are
Yep.
we hearing anything about Carter Baumler pitching at all there?
Okay. His this is kind of hard to interpret, especially for someone that's mildly obsessive like I am. His appearances statistically have been going better. They've been getting better, more efficient with his pitches, better results on metrics with where they're going. But the radar gun is staying the same. He has not gotten up to the miles per hour levels that he was pre-surgery or pre-injury. So there's different ways to look at it. I'm not going to say he's getting it done with guile, but either way, he is getting it done, and that's what needs to happen for him
And
to stay.
is he starting, Eric, or is he relieving at this point?
So far, every appearance has been in relief, and a fair percentage of them have been when Jackson Baumeister is starting. So I guess when you look at the whole Aberdeen picture, yeah,
Right.
there's good hitters and a good offensive nucleus, but I think what it's showing is wherever they're going to go as a team, it's going to come from these pitchers going from good to elite. If they all do it together, this is a playoff team beating good teams to win their league. So Aberdeen, even though it's one game under 500, they're really off to a very solid start. And
And
watching them is fun. They've got fun type of accelerating type of players.
right.
Matthew Etzel, Creed Williams, Bradfield when he's not hurt. So really a very good watch.
One more quick pitcher you just mentioned, the college pitcher that they drafted last year. How's
Cam
he doing?
Weston.
How's he doing so far?
Cam Weston?
No, Baumeister.
Oh, Baumeister. Well, he's had, I want to say, 4 appearances, one very good, two in the middle, and one less than good. So right on track. Our friend and coworker Luke Jackson, has been out to see him more than once, and the reports from Luke are the breaking ball is already advanced, and that alone could move him up. It's the fastball, the sequencing, the keeping counts efficient and short that have to sharpen up for him to move up. But Luke is very high on him and he thinks Baumeister could move this year.
And Baumler, just remind me, his injury was a Tommy John surgery, correct?
He he's actually had, yes, he had that, but he's had two, I want to say, major type of injuries since being drafted in 2020. The Tommy John is the one that we know everything about. The other
Right.
one, I'm not exactly sure if it was his elbow or his shoulder, but it's something with his throwing apparatus.
Okay. So he's like a ways away, but progressing. Let's
Fair.
step up to Bowie.
Yep.
How's Bowie looking this year?
Bowie's record, I want to say they're 9-8, so they're a game over 500. And the person who I expected to lead them out of camp, Dylan Beavers, is absolutely doing that. I want to say for the first few games of the first series, he didn't hit well. Since then, he's just tearing it up. He's 19 of 54 on the season. He's got 3 steals. He's got as many strikeout or walks as strikeouts, very balanced rate. They've hit him first, second, and third, playing good at first base, playing even better at right field. So this guy's a star type of player in a lineup with Basayo, Frederick Bencosme, who might actually be the story of the system so far, and Judd Fabian behind him. So that again is a really awesome offensive nucleus. John Rhodes has won games with clutch hits and hit home runs. So Bowie is really exciting. They're a game over 500. And I have a feeling as the summer goes on, if that group stays together, they're going to score a ton of runs.
Okay. Sticking with Bowie, how is Basayo playing? Is he playing already like like this is a mid-May promotion to Norfolk, or should I pump my brakes on that and he's just doing well?
I think it's a little bit closer to the second one. He's doing well, but he's an excellent player. That's how it should go. He, like Beavers, started off a little bit slow, but has gradually picked it up. When you watch the games, even with Beavers in the lineup, you can see Basayo is the player that opponents are going after. They're targeting him. They're strategizing against him. So he's learning about having that target on his back and being that headline type of player. He's really never had that before. So in some ways he's succeeding, and in some ways he's failing and handling it well for the most part. But I'm going to think he finds his way up, but it's not because he's blowing the stats away or anything like that. It's going to be more consistent play, improving the rates, the strikeout rates, keeping the metrics where they are. So he'll move up, but he's not going to have to be a runaway MVP all-star to do it.
So so tell me a little bit more about, because I know each time you talk about what's it, Ben Cosme?
Yep,
Ben
yep.
Cosme, what's his first name again?
Freddie.
Freddie Ben Cosme. Tell us a little bit about him, because I know you're enthusiastic about him.
Yeah, I wrote an article at the beginning of the season for Press Box about some guys that are going to maybe change their profile, and with a little more strength, Freddie could be one of them. Well, he's really shown that he put in the work in the off season. His body changed. He's bigger and stronger in every single muscle group, especially his legs and his back. He's always been a very high contact hitter. He can touch any pitch. He can reach out and get it and send it over infielders. That's his primary skill. High average, high contact type of hitter. And we always thought if he could drive the ball to the wall, he could change how he's pitched to. If he could hit it over the wall, he could be a run producer, and everything about his profile could change. Well, in the early part of the season, that's what's happened. He already has today more home runs than he hit all of last season. Doubles and triples are a much higher percentage of his hits than what it was last year. So he's showing I'm no longer a singles hitter. Let's see how that holds up over July and August, because if he's an extra base hits slugging type of guy, the Orioles have another amazing international prospect. He
What
costs
position? What
$10,000.
position is he? Is he a middle infielder?
He's much better at shortstop. Well, I don't want to say much. He's good at shortstop and a little less good laterally at second. He's a long, rangy athlete, 6'2", 6'3" type. So he really knows how to use that space between second and third base. That's what he's used to. I love his profile.
I know. And is he a guy, if he makes it, is he a guy that profiles to steal 15 plus bases a year?
He's not a yes, but it's not because of his speed or acceleration. He's an instinct. I'm going to extend this rally and make sure I don't get out type of stealer. And yeah, 15 to 18 times a season for his
Yeah, he's not
usage.
a 35, 40 guy. He's a 15 to 20 guy.
No, and even when he was in the FCL, he wasn't running like that. He's just not
Okay.
a burst type of runner. He's a
Okay.
gliding type of shortstop player.
All
So
right.
I'm very excited for him, what he's done early.
That's great. And is he a left-handed hitter or a
Yep.
right-handed?
Yep.
Left-handed hitter. Not a
Beautiful
switch
stroke.
hitter, pure lefty.
Yep.
Okay. Let's go back to Aberdeen for just a second. So if I'm right, it sounds like Creed Williams and Cam Weston are the guys that you're like juiced about a little bit more than the others.
Yeah, yeah, and especially Creed. You know, he's not exactly young. He's not exactly old. He's 20 in the mid minors, and he's playing a position where the timeline to the highest level is a little bit slower. But he's done so many things right to show the Orioles. Not only am I a good draft pick, I'm going to develop at a satisfactory sequence for everybody. This guy is a left-handed, country strong power hitter. The longest home runs in the history of Ed Smith and the whole complex, he owns it. The longest home run in the history of Twin Lakes on the other side of town, he owns it. He's 20 years old. He
Yep.
has 5 home runs, slugging 667, and in his first 650 at bats, you could look at that as like a full season as a pro. He's got 115 RBIs. So this is a run producing type of player. I've seen him get much better at the defensive intricacies of catching, but if he can't, he's a corner or a DH. This is the kind of guy that can really whack the baseball.
So
Freed's exciting.
tell me if I'm right. If Basayo at Bowie is playing well enough and in 6 or 8 weeks gets promoted to Norfolk, it might coincide with a promotion of Williams to Bowie. Does
Okay,
that sound right?
it does, and I'm gonna think everything I just said. It's kind of established. We all know it. The promotion and when it happens is going to depend a little bit more on defense. There's a pretty good catching standard set with Basayo and Connor Pavlovny at Bowie. It's a competitive type of game. You have to be able to throw, block, and catch
Yeah.
a little bit better than what's required at Aberdeen. So when that is as convincing as the offense, he'll go up. Him and Freed and Basayo together as a catching tandem is really, really exciting for prospect people like me.
Okay. And this Cam Weston, I know you talked about him, 14 shutout innings and all that. Where did he come from again? And does he profile at pitching at Aberdeen all year, or could he be a call up, middle of June to Bowie?
Okay, based on how much first of all, he's from college. He went to the University of Michigan. He had a good college career. I don't think he's a high. I think he's a double-digit round pick, maybe around 10. So not early and not late. Usually the Orioles developmental track will keep them at Aberdeen for this year in development, unless he runs away and nobody hits him or nobody makes contact and he's striking everybody out. Then he can join the Trace Bright tier at Bowie. But I would expect if he has regular usage and regular success, then he's going to stay at Aberdeen and be one of their starters from now until the end of the season and have a chance to change some minds in camp next year.
I was just looking at something, looking ahead to next week. We've got an Oriole day game next Thursday where we would usually be at 4 or 5 o'clock. I might move us to 6 o'clock next Thursday. Okay.
I can do that.
Okay. We'll talk more about that. I want to thank our sponsors again, AJ Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning at ajmichaels.com. I want to thank our friends at the Atman's Deli, the new Atman's Deli at Harbor Point, where they have everything that you want in a deli, plus a bar. That's right. And they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the new Atman's at Harbor Point. Check it out. It's just a stone's throw from Fells Point, but it's a really neat place. And also want to thank our friends at the Costas Inn, 410-477-1975. They're with us all the time. The Costas Inn, great place to go when crab season starts. But make a plan, call up, find out the availability, size of the crabs, cost of the crabs, so you're not surprised. But you got to make a reservation for crabs. 410-477-1975. Eric, before I let you go, jumping back to Norfolk for a second, it really looks like, and I'm not suggesting it's an easy decision, but it really looks like Coby Mayo is really close to being ready to play in the big leagues.
I just think this is, I don't want to say it's weird and unique, but it does not have to do with him. There's nothing this guy can do to show he's more ready. His stats, his counting stats have been shining at every step of the developmental track. Now his metrics are man-sized. He hits the ball harder than anyone in the Orioles organization, including the major league team, including Gunnar Henderson, including all the sluggers. Nobody hits it harder than Coby.
His exit velos are better than Gunnar's.
They're the
Higher.
top.
Yeah.
They're the top in the organization, so it's better than everybody. It's another reflection of how truly ready he is, and how I don't want to say nothing can keep him down or nothing can stop him from success, but every hurdle as an athlete that's been placed in front of him, he has answered it in a very loud way. And this is another reflection. If he
Hey,
can set his feet, throw it across the diamond considerably clearly than he has, he's A plus, 100% ready. So right now he's not fielding it up to his caliber, up to his resume. When that starts to happen, series by series, rep by rep, then there's nothing that the Orioles are going to do to keep him down. It's weird. Westberg is doing really well,
yeah,
playing very well, but there's really no permanence as far as who's holding down third base on the big club.
yeah. Hey, just for edification for everybody, when exit velos started 8, 10 years ago, and you'd hear it, his exit velocity, it was always given when a guy would hit a home run, his exit velocity on that home run, and you sort of shrugged and go, what the hell do I care what his exit velocity? Explain to our viewers why exit velo is important.
Well, I guess simply put, it's because the harder you hit it, the less a fielder has the opportunity to turn, react, and make a play. So let's say you hit it a line drive past the shortstop, it's 100 miles an hour. A good shortstop can turn and react to that. If you hit it as fast as 108, all they can do is turn.
Yeah.
So it's how much do you consistently hit it past fielders who can't move as fast as that trajectory. So it's not a tell all or a full determinant, but when you hit it consistently, your singles, your extra base hits over 110 miles an hour, you're about as strong a hitter as any measure can prove. That's where Coby Mayo is today in the minor leagues. So
Yep.
it's not to the point where it's not making sense that he's in the minors. But again, every single thing you put in front of him and say, do this to the max, he's doing it to the absolute max. I can't
Question.
wait for him to hit in Camden Yards.
Yeah. Question. Conversely, does exit velo tell you something about your pitcher? In other words, how the
Absolutely.
opposition is barreling up the ball?
Again, not a tell all and not a full determinant, but absolutely. If bad hitters or hitters that are low on base, low contact, low average are lacing your pitcher to the extremes of a certain exit velocity tier, it's not a sign of fatigue. It's a sign of ineffectiveness as far as their
Yeah.
pitches that they're offering. So yeah, it's a way to look at every single thing. For me, I want power. I want extra base hits. I want a higher percentage chance that it's going over the wall. If you hit it 110 miles an hour, all those things can have a higher probability of happening. By the way, just got some really bad news for the system in the last 10 minutes. Right-handed pitcher Zach Peak is going to see a doctor. He has right shoulder inflammation. He's actually been throwing quite well and as hard as he ever has in his career. So he's been bit by the injury bug a few times, and it looks like
Where's he
that's
at? Bowie?
going to
Is
happen
he at Bowie right
at
now?
Bowie, and he's just about to take a step towards thriving. So
All right. Let's keep
this
our
would hurt.
fingers crossed on that.
Yeah,
Thank you for all that information, Eric.
sure.
Again, we didn't put it up there today. He's at Eric_Birdland if you want to follow him on social media and see some of his videos on X, right?
Correct. Eric
All right.
underscore Birdland on Twitter.
All right. We thank you as always for our sponsors, AJ Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning, New Atman's Deli at Harbor Point, and the Costas Inn. I'm Stan the Fan, and we thank Eric Garfield, and we'll see you Monday. Be on with Ross Grimsley and Luke Jackson, and Luke and Eric and I will be back next Thursday. All right. Take care, everybody.